Welcome to CaCo Talks, the weekly podcast where conversations about life, hot topics, mental health, and more take center stage. We are your hosts, Caitlin and Courtney Geiger.
Together, we explore thought-provoking discussions with an ambient vibe that inspires open and honest dialogue. So sit back, relax, and join us for some insightful conversation that will leave you feeling informed and inspired.
Welcome back to CaCo's. We are back with our second episode of 2024. Yeah, that's interesting to say. And we are excited to be back, like we said in our first episode. So we're just going to jump on into this one. Today we are talking about the effects of
You sounded
influence.
southern.
Hmm?
You sounded very southern.
I've
Jump
been hearing that a
on.
lot lately.
You
Maybe
said jump on into this one.
jump on. Whatever. Anyways, we're gonna get into the topic of today, which is the effects of influencer culture. So, I'll give a little background on how we got to this topic. So basically, I have been taking a break from social media. Courtney has even dabbled into taking breaks from social media too, for like weeks at a time, maybe even month. And we've also been taking breaks, or I personally have been taking a break from listening to music with lyrics. So I've been listening to a lot of like instrumental music or music with very minimal lyrics in it. And
Do you
so
listen to jazz?
it's not really usually jazz. It's usually like Spanish in nature, or it's usually like Spanish in nature, honestly, or some Spanish notes. But it's like on the verge of jazz. Just I don't know if they consider it jazz.
Jazz is a really expansive genre, I've realized. I thought jazz was like, what Sammy sings.
Hmm.
Actually, very expansive.
No, it
Like,
is. It really
that
is.
concert, they
I
had
don't
like
know
a
if it falls
Mexican
into
band.
that though.
It was like a Latino band up there. And I was like,
Hmm.
what?
Yeah, but does Hermanoso Gutierrez fall into that? You think?
I don't know. I think they fall more into like Latin music, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
Latin band at the jazz concert.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
I was like, what is it? And it had like what are those like drums
Mm-hmm.
that they have?
Hmm.
It was like a Caribbean vibe to it as well. And I was like, is jazz
Like the
just a catch all
bongos?
now?
Maybe. I don't. I mean, it
Are you
has
saying like
very
alternative?
maybe from what I saw on like if you look them up or whatever, it just says like instrumental. So that's what I've been calling them.
Mm,
But they have very, very, very strong notes of jazz. They use a lot of instruments that would be included in your typical jazz genre.
mm.
And so I don't. I wonder if jazz is more of like an American thing. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
maybe
well,
why.
jazz is really tied to like it started in the African American community, right? So
Hmm.
it has a really
American heavy.
American heavy, African American specifically heavy like
Hmm.
tie to it, and
Yeah.
it's had different iterations as time has gone on because it's
Yeah.
jazz in the 20s wasn't the same as in the 50s and the
Oh, for
60s,
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe that's
So
why it's not called jazz, but technically speaking, in our American culture, it would be probably considered jazz. Yeah.
yeah, it would be closer to that kind of style of music, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
just improvisational, different types of instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, like I'm just looking up now, it's like woodwinds as well as
Mm-hmm.
piano.
Mm-hmm.
Um, occasionally violins and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost
Does
like
a guitar fall into woodwinds? Not woodwinds.
no, but there is jazz guitar. Like people play
Mm-hmm.
jazz with guitar, so I think
Facts.
jazz is very open. It's like very open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
You know.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe there are more. I guess, like I said, based on like American culture, they would be considered jazz.
Yeah, and it's like it really. I wouldn't even call it like a sound. I think jazz is more like the style
Feeling.
you're playing. Like,
Oh, really?
It's more like improvisational style.
Mm-hmm.
Um, certain like they're saying harmonic structures, and it's like they're really tying it to African American, but it's got like this like liveliness, excitement to it. I guess that's what they
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah.
So
Fair
I don't
enough.
know if it's like a sound exactly
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
there's different
Yeah.
types of sounds.
Mm.
There's like bebop, there's swing, Dixieland, pop is somewhat, blues is like all kind of iterations.
Anyways, that brings us to
Anyway,
the
sorry.
point
Yeah.
was that I've been listening to music that does not have lyrics. So a form of jazz based off American culture and or instrumentals. So these individuals are typically not American. That's why I'm going to call them instrumental. And so, or excuse me, the artists are not typically American based. So I've been calling them instrumentals. But it has had a profound effect. Effect, excuse me. Is it effect or effect? Yeah, profound.
Effect.
Effect. Yes, A.
Yeah.
On my mental health, I guess,
Mhm.
by taking a break from social media and taking a break from listening to lyrics.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about that today. Do you want to add anything to that? Because Courtney's also been listening to some of the instrumental music that I've been listening to also, and also taking breaks from social media. So
Yeah. I want to just ditto everything Caitlin said. Also, I've been listening to instrumental, I think, longer than Caitlin has.
probably, yeah.
Because I would listen to it. Even in high school, I would listen. Like on Sundays, I would listen to jazz and
Yeah,
listen
yeah, yeah.
to, like, while I'm doing my homework and studying. So I've always found instrumental to be really great for when I need to think and I need to hear my own thoughts. I'm always listening to instrumental music,
Fair
and
enough.
I would do it with my homework and at the end of high school, college, and then even now when I write, I can't do lyrics. Or if I do lyrics, I've decided I listen to old school country. Strange, weird,
Huh?
right? But like Brenda
Wait, like you
Lee.
take my tractor, sexy.
No, not that, because that's not even as old. I go back to like the 50s and 60s. Like, the TikTok sounds where the ladies like emotions, blah blah blah.
That's not country, is it?
Yeah, it is a country music.
Okay, maybe
Or
country
like
was
it's like
different
that
back then.
kind of like, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even think it was pop at the time, but it was like this, like that sad, like slow
Hmm.
kind of musics.
Hmm.
Music like, I don't know if you know who Brenda Lee is or Peggy Lee.
No, baby, I don't know
Them
anybody past
Connie
2000s.
Francis, those people. That's not like I listen to. I would sometimes I listen to that if I listen to lyrics at all.
Okay,
Just because it's very slow, very slow.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll jump into social media specifically because that has had the greatest effect on our mental health. So, what do you think it has been? What is your top 5 things? Um, maybe that's not a good question. Okay, so what has been the most? What 5 things have been the most, I guess, fruitful or impactful since your break from social media?
I think I mean, obviously, number one, improving my mental, only
Mm-hmm.
because I know I have a real tendency. I'm a social media girly, only because usually I'm like sharing some form of artwork, right? So it's been useful for that. Or I started doing makeup videos of that too. But I realized that I had a really bad habit of letting what I see everybody else doing make me feel like I'm not doing enough.
Mm.
So it was really a comparison thing for me. So that has been really helpful when I just shut it down and I focus on my own lane and what I can do in this moment. It makes me realize that like I'm not ahead or behind. I'm like where I'm supposed to be. And so that's good because it takes the pressure off of me. I realized that a lot of my self pressure was because I was just seeing other people do these incredible things, right? So that was helpful. That's maybe 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, because you already said mental health. So.
Mental. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. I think the other thing too is, like I said, with writing, it allows my own space, my own creativity to come up without being influenced. So I can really look at the world around me, or I can look at other forms of artwork to get inspiration from. Case in point, I started reading poetry, some well-known poets, and that's been really helpful to think about how to use how to create metaphor and create emotion in word choice,
Hmm.
basically. Um, and that's something that I can use when I'm writing, my scripts. There's only so many pages you can really have. How do I put as much emotion into these words as possible,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Or into the characters as possible. How do I create metaphor? And poetry does that so well. So I've been that's been really helpful as I'm able to focus on other non-social media related art forms. Um, and so I think that's like 4, right? 3 or 4.
I don't remember counting, so I think that's 3. But
Okay. And then 4. Um, I mean, I will say. I mean, I think I just have more physical time. Like physical time. I'm not just sitting scrolling. You know what I mean? Like to do other things. Like I can get up, work on the things I know I need to work on, I want to work on, and then go on about my day and not be like, oh, I spent 2 hours scrolling through Instagram. I didn't waste time today. You know what I mean?
Thanks. That's a big one.
Yeah. Because it'll catch you up.
Mm-hmm.
And
3 hours later.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, okay, the last thing I'll say is I think that it just made me reroute to more positive, imbibing more positive things. Like I will listen to a podcast now, or I'll listen to an audiobook or something where if I am using, I'm not really using social media, I'm using like the internet, if that makes sense. Like I'm using the internet as like a storage system, or like a place where you can access information, like a book or a
It's like a
poem.
resource.
A resource, not just for the social media aspect of it, because we forget that the internet also is started out as like a library. You know, now it's like people forget that the internet is used for that.
Facts.
So
Okay, good 5.
What about you?
Okay, let's see. So one thing is, I would first of all, I agree with everything Courtney said. So those have also been happening in my life, except for like I guess like the artsiness of it. And mine is just more practical and like taking care of my animals, doing the things that I need to do. So, not saying that Courtney's isn't practical, but practical in the sense of like for my life, right? So that, but to not repeat what she already said, I will come up with my own. So the first one I would say is, okay, so I'm going to preface this one by saying, I'm not saying my favorite quote. My favorite quote is ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. And that is my favorite quote because um, sometimes not knowing certain things can bring you a level of happiness.
Yeah.
Knowing everything brings you a level of
You're like
hyper awareness and almost anxiety, right? Sometimes. And so it makes you more cautious and moving in the world. But not being on social media has basically kind of made me ignorant to some things. It doesn't make me, it's making me less, not saying like less cautious, but more adventurous, I guess. So it's like allowed me to try new things, in the sense of like, it doesn't make me like have to be like, I have to stay in the house, because there is a lot of negativity on there. There is a lot of like crime on there. There's a lot going on in the world. So not being privy to that allows me to go out and explore more, right? Instead of being in the house and not doing things. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, um, I think being off of social media has made me grateful for what I do have, because I'm not constantly comparing myself to what somebody else has or what somebody else wants, or being like, oh, that's a good idea for me. And it's like, you have to figure out and be confident with you to know what you are going to be good at and what you're going to excel or maybe learn from, or whatever the case may be, and doing that, right? Just because Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing it does not mean I have to do it. So that's another thing. I think being off of social media has made me more like secure within myself and or like confident within myself, because I don't have anybody to compare that to. It's just like, this is Caitlin, this is what I have to offer, and I need to be okay with this before somebody else can be okay with this. So that, what else? I think it has been more like peaceful and this is, I will preface this by saying, like, we have like, and sometimes we were like not doing social media at all, and other times we're just doing it in doses. So I might like get an hour a day. Courtney does maybe 2 hours a day. Who knows? So like lessening our time on there. But so yeah, like going up, I never had social media. Well, I had social media. It was my bunny social media, or just a page full of like rabbit content or whatever, because that's what I was into. And so I
Still are. No, you said it. You had it like a change.
they don't need to know that. Anyways, now you got all my business out there, like, girl. Anyways,
you said it like, well, I was just into that at the time. Like, okay.
It has downed a lot since adulthood. Anyways, why are you telling my business, bro? Anyways, the reason why I did that in my childhood was because of all the drama that was on Instagram, for example. And so, social media back then was a lot better than it is now. So, anyways, I that's kind of why I did that. So my last one would probably be like just being more mindful of the type of social media that I watch, and so I try to stay off of Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, I guess X now, whatever. Those types of things. And the only ones I really watch are like YouTube, and I'll get on Reddit, and then I'll, watch a podcast, typically through YouTube or something like that. So being more mindful of what I am putting into my mental space and what I'm actually entertaining and watching instead of just scrolling all day. So that's kind of like what I do. And
I
those
love
have
to
been
see it.
the greatest impacts. So
I love to see that. I mean, I think social media, when it came on the scene, nobody knew what the effects of it would be. It was just like, oh, this new
facts.
thing. And it's
Facts.
great. We're able to connect with people. But now we're seeing, almost 10 years later, we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing what the real effects of
Mm-hmm.
that has been. And I think
Yeah.
it's hard to really totally blame social media because I'm sure they started out with good intentions. I mean, why
Mm.
wouldn't one? That's a revolutionary concept. Let's connect
Facts.
people.
And to be fair, I don't think anybody could have predicted it being what it is
Mm-mm.
now, to be fair. Because
No.
even like, MySpace was like the thing, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day. And MySpace, I don't think had this type of effect.
No, it didn't. It was
Facebook
very
didn't have
underground.
it. Yeah, it was very underground. It was like if you had it, you had it, and you had to like find pages, and it was kind of like who you knew already in a way.
Hmm.
Maybe you meet some new friends in like a little group or whatever, from my understanding. But
Hmm.
it wasn't like it didn't have the impact that exists with something like a TikTok um,
The Twitter.
or Twitter, or even I think the biggest one is Instagram. Instagram is
Yeah.
wild.
Oh yeah.
So,
I think also too, MySpace was very, very alternative. It was very
mm-hmm,
person to person if you knew about it or if you had a couple friends on there, and it was
mm-hmm,
very associated with younger people and younger, social scenes.
mm-hmm.
The way social media works now, corporate owns social media and
Yeah.
uses social media and markets on social media. Like it is the media. So I think the old media was, television and films and radio and, billboards and newspapers and that kind of thing. But now, I mean, you're not starting a business, even a small business, without being on Instagram or
Yeah, you're not
Facebook.
doing much without being on Instagram. I mean, most people can't vacation without Instagram. People can't have kids get married without Instagram. Um,
Exactly.
do there's more of a population who is using that on an everyday basis. It has become a normality, versus those who don't use that on an everyday basis
Yep. And
in
it
some way or
really has
fashion.
revolutionized the way people communicate with each other.
Hmm. And on a good note, to be fair, not all of the things about social media are bad. It definitely increases the popularity for businesses, marketing for businesses,
They were
in
able to reach
a
people they were never going to reach before.
yeah, they're reaching a whole new population, a whole market that they may have never suspected, and
Hmm.
or a market that was not intended to be brought in,
Hmm.
uh, and that helps people, get the resources that they even need. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it has its benefits, but boy, oh boy, does it have
It's drawbacks.
its drawbacks.
I
Yeah.
think also too that it's I mean the thing about social media is we're sharing. We're sharing,
Hmm.
sharing, sharing. And there's something to back in the day, your experience was your experience, your community was your community, and that's what you knew. And if you expanded beyond that community by stepping outside of it, you did that. But it was sort of things were insular, I felt like. Versus now, things really aren't so insular. We're all like multi like layered in connectedness, which I don't like I said, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. You know?
I mean, I think it depends on who you're asking. Some people may want to be multi-layered. I think the problem comes when the multi-layering is not authentic to you,
Yeah.
and you're trying to be something that you may not be. That's when the problem comes.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's okay. Like, I think everybody is naturally multi-layered. Like, you're gonna have certain things that you just simply like as a hobby, and some things you want to do as a career. Certain things that you don't really care for that I may care for. Um,
That's true.
and it's okay, and that's okay. And I think that is promoted. Um, well, not always. I think that should be promoted. However, when it's in conflict of the things that you want, so like, say, you see, this is just something quick to compare to. So this is just an example. Say, you want to be in the art world, right?
Hmm.
So you do that by posting naked images of yourselves to get notoriety so that you can get to the place that you want to be.
Why does this
You
feel
may
like
not be
a
okay with
personal dig?
posting, huh?
This feels like a personal dig.
No,
I'm
I'm
just
not
kidding.
saying this is a person. I'm just saying this is something that I think most people can relate to, because this is something that we see in masses on
Yeah.
most social media platforms. So you do things that you don't want to do to be in the place that you want to be in.
Hmm.
So you thus jeopardize your personal morals
Yeah.
to get to a place that you want to be. So that may not be authentic to you unless you want to share that type of content. And then that creates I think, an internal divide between self. And
Hmm.
that can start some mental issues and or blah 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 blah. It becomes a
Most
problem.
definitely. I think also too that um, another side effect of social media is its own culture, and I mean that in the sense that it does not. It also sort of there's a way you conduct yourself on the internet versus in the real world. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense,
Yeah.
and I think that was something that was probably never. I mean, you couldn't have foreseen that, but like internet culture, and that's why I want to make. I always say internet culture. Internet culture is its own beast that has its own regulations, its own, you know, way of operating,
So what are
its
some
own
like examples?
expectations. To me, like, okay, so the whole idea that like I post certain things on Instagram that I would never post on LinkedIn, okay,
Mm-hmm.
or like Facebook is, for the family app, or
Mm-hmm.
TikTok is where I can be, you know, doing something strange for a piece of change. You know what I mean? Like we, it has its own culture, its own defined like
Mm-hmm.
boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and also the anonymity of it too. Like I can post from a blank page and
Mm-hmm.
say vile nasty things, or I can say beautiful positive things, and it allows a hodgepodge of like kind of whatever to go,
Mm-hmm.
as well as certain spaces are designated for certain things, and there's a way of conducting yourself.
Facts. Yeah, no, that's true.
Versus in the real world,
That
there's
may
certain
not be
things
who
that are
you are.
shamed. There
Yeah.
there are things you cannot do, or that are socially unacceptable, that you
Mm-hmm.
can get by with on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I
Under the guise of being anonymous.
under the guise of being anonymous, and that was something I hate to keep bringing up my film club, but that's why I wrote it, because that's what the main character is struggling with. There's a way she presents herself on the internet that becomes really entangled with her personal life,
Hmm.
and it causes issues for her because she doesn't separate the two ever.
Hmm.
So, I think that, you know, being being sucked into social media culture, depending on how far you go into it, it's like we just don't know what the ramifications are. You don't
Yeah.
always know.
You don't. Yeah. You don't know the price that you're paying,
Yeah.
especially not initially. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
and like I said, social media has dictated its own culture.
Very true. So what? Okay. I guess out of the social medias that are out, what do you think has been the most um, influential in terms of like culture?
Like overall, or for me personally.
Either one.
Um, they're also blended now. I mean, because there's a new
Mm-hmm.
app every 2 to 3 business weeks, so it's like we all we're all, now everyone just says social media like it's like this
Mm-hmm.
big monster on the internet, right?
Yeah. Facts.
um but I would say when it first came out, Facebook was revolutionary.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that was the first time people were like, I can talk to so and so in China.
Mm-hmm. But
you
I think
know
that one was more family oriented, so there was a more
but it didn't start
decorum.
out family oriented. It was like social group, it was friends.
Yeah, but I feel like there was more decorum there.
There was back then. Now I hate to say it, but Facebook has been taken over by like the right, the radical like right, in my
You think
opinion.
so?
A lot of it has, in my opinion.
I don't get on Facebook, so I don't know.
But it's been sort of taken over. Well, not taken over, but sort of co-opted for their purposes. And Facebook has this very conservative feel to it. I think.
I can see that.
But I think when it first, like I said, when it first came out, it was like it shifted like a paradigm. It was like a paradigm shift. I mean, we could not only post about our own lives, we could comment on other people's lives. We could see photographs of them. They could see videos of us. We could join different groups that we had never, been a part of before. We could know, times to meet up. We could establish new relationships, like all of these things, right?
Yeah.
But I will say the one that has been transformative for me, or influenced me, I guess, the most, which we should get into what an influencer is and how that is even a new concept. But the one that I have recently been influenced most by is TikTok. Like when I think,
yeah, that
oh, I
one's
need some
wild.
inspo for something, or I want to see how somebody styles this, or what it looks like, or blah blah blah, I'm going straight to TikTok. It used to be Instagram, but now it's TikTok, and I just discovered Pinterest. Don't hate me. I know I'm late. I'm uber late to the Pinterest thing, but I
Honestly,
just discovered Pinterest.
Pinterest is amazing. I love, and Pinterest is very calm. Like, it's very calm.
Yeah, it is calm. It's
I
because you
love
can't really see
Pinterest.
comments and stuff. It's just photographs. What
Yeah, there
Instagram
are a
used to
few
be.
comments. People just don't comment on there though.
Yeah, that's true. It's not this like Pinterest is like. I just think Pinterest is like girls sharing information,
I can see that.
and it's not. We all know we don't come here and spread hate and be weird and do all that stuff like some other apps.
Yes, that.
It's like, you
Be
sign the
normal.
waiver when you get on Pinterest.
Yeah, no, for real. Like, Pinterest is like classy,
Yeah.
Like, we are all here kind of mutually agree that we are here to be classy.
Which I'm surprised that has maintained for as long as Pinterest has been around. It has maintained that vibe.
Facts. Yeah, honestly, me too. Because how we have seen different platforms transition into different things, Pinterest really hasn't gotten the.
It hasn't shifted.
Hasn't shifted. Yeah. It has been pretty consistent too. But I wonder if it's because of how they lay out their platform. Like, it's more of like what you are personally interested in, versus just like random information.
It's kind of like, to me, what Tumblr was. Because I don't feel like Tumblr ever had a shift.
I don't know. Tumblr had a dark side, I think.
Oh, no, it definitely had a dark side, but I think Tumblr started out as a very alternative thing in the first place.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
It never was like it went from like light to dark. It was like,
yeah, but I feel like Tumblr was not really made to communicate with people. Same thing as Pinterest. It's made for you to browse. That's it. And maybe that's why.
And maybe that's it, because like Instagram was kind of a combo of both. It's made for you kind of,
it's like
Twitter
a
was
Pinterest
definitely a
and an
communication.
Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, a Facebook, excuse me.
And then I think TikTok, to me, I think TikTok came out as like this is a video app. We're going to share videos.
Oh, yeah, no. It's definitely kind of like a Vine. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you remember Vine, real ones remember Vine.
Yeah, Vine was great.
Vine was great.
I loved Vine. Vine was
so did
good.
I, and I hated that they ever got rid of it.
Me too. I was not to hold you, but I was very reluctant to get TikTok.
Same.
And the only reason why I get it was because I was working a night job and I needed to stay up. But I was very reluctant because I saw how people were like, we'd be like, did you see that TikTok? Did you see that TikTok? Did you see that TikTok? Did you see that? And I'm like, what the heck is going on with TikTok? And I was very adamant for a very long time. I am not getting TikTok because I don't want to be addicted like you guys are. I'm not getting a TikTok.
Yeah.
I ended up getting one, and now I'm like one of the crackheads on TikTok. That's what I feel like. It's just like, which, to be fair, like, this is before I started taking breaks, but now that I've been taking breaks, like, I have dumbed that down. But it is very like the scroll on TikTok.
Oh, that's real. Now, unlike any other app, TikTok is
have you
entrapped. To me.
It will have you entrapped.
That is the most addictive. I don't know.
Honestly,
that's the one I find the hardest to put down.
Yeah. Yes. I've never had an app be so like And not
almost
only like not only
mesmerizing.
do I have a hard time putting it down, I lose literal track of time. Like
Oh,
it is
absolutely.
ridiculous. I don't know
I
what
don't
they're
know
doing. It
how
must,
they
like I said, it must be the crack. It
TikTok
has to
crack.
be because it's
You know
like
what I
what?
think it is? This is what I think. I genuinely think it is. I think there's something different about seeing an image and then watching something.
You think so?
But I think there's something intrinsically different about it because, and
Hmm.
I'm only saying this as a filmmaker, not because I'm not saying this because
But
of social
Instagram has
media.
videos too.
But Instagram, I think the way Instagram works, and I think some of it is the coloring as well. TikTok is a black app, black, like the interface is black.
Hmm.
Instagram is white, which kind of alerts you. It's a brighter color. So I think when you're scrolling through TikTok and it's like, this little simple little swipe motion, it
Hmm.
almost blends and becomes like watching a film. Like, how you zone out in a movie theater
Hmm.
because it's like black and there's just that one light on the screen.
Hmm.
I think that's what really pulls people in for TikTok. And
Hmm.
that's just me aesthetically thinking here. And versus Instagram is sort of choppy. Like it's like and Instagram's not really in any kind of order either.
Hmm.
So it's like a box and then there's a comment. And like then a box and a comment, a box, like, and so it breaks it up.
Hmm.
TikTok is very fluid and you get lost.
Fair enough. I didn't. I've heard people say this, but I didn't really believe it. But there's this. What if you ever watch your phone while you're on TikTok? Like, say you have a camera and you watch, and your camera has an infrared light or whatever.
Hmm.
If you watch your phone while you're on TikTok, like, while you're scrolling, there's like your phone like flashes like this red light at you, like legitimately. And the only reason
Hmm.
why I know this is because one day I was away or whatever, and I was watching the cameras to see my bunnies, and Ricky was on the floor watching TV or whatever. And
What a
I think
stalker mom.
okay, listen, I was making sure they were good because I didn't realize Ricky was home. Anyways, so Ricky has her phone or whatever, and you can see the light flashing. Like it's like a constant, like you can't see it in the naked eye, but I could see it on the camera. And I was like,
That's
that's
wild.
weird.
Like
Like,
only on TikTok?
only on TikTok. Well, that's the only time I've ever seen it. So
Yeah. I some TikTok will suck you in.
I'm telling you, it's like a
Unlike any
freaking,
other app.
it's
And
like a
I
black hole.
it really
That's
is.
what it
I think
is.
it is. I think part of it is some of the coloring, but I think it's also because it's video and we are
Mm-hmm.
trained actually as like audience members watch watch videos for a longer point of
You think
time,
so?
i.e.
I don't know
movies.
because
I
I'm
think
not even a
so.
video person, and the way TikTok has a hold on my brain. Oh my gosh.
I think it's the same effect as like when you go into a movie theater and while they black it out. It's black and then there's one light on the screen.
Mm,
You sort
yeah,
of zone out,
maybe. Mm, I don't
I
know.
think.
Anyways, I had to get off of TikTok. TikTok. I've also another thing that I've done to like help me stay off social media is you know how like at the end of your phone, like if you have all those screens or whatever, you go to the very end. There's like a list of all your apps, your like app library or whatever.
Yeah.
I no longer have TikTok and Instagram, the ones that I'm like I would heavily be on, and the ones that
Yeah.
would distract me the most on my home screen. So it's like as if I don't even have it there. Like I have to go the extra mile to go and find it. And so like by then I'm like thinking like it's not even worth it. I'm gonna be in here for an hour and I don't have time for that. So it pretty much makes me have to work harder to get there, and then I end up not doing it, or I find something else to like browse on. So
Yeah.
that's been helpful too.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, yeah, I think finding ways to make sure you physically limit your time,
Mm-hmm.
like,
It's the key.
is good. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I something that actually has helped me with TikTok is I switched over. I have my account that I was doing for Clout, which had all my like more social conscious heavy material on it on my For You page.
Hmm.
But then once I switched over to my makeup account and it's just makeup videos, I'm on there a whole heck of a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
and I
that's
find it much more relaxing because I'm just watching people like do their eyeliner
mhm.
or like talk about this eyebrow gel. It's like very,
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but almost the more vain, super, I don't want to say call it superficial because makeup's not superficial, but the less heavy topics didn't they did. I didn't realize it was bogging me down in some ways.
Facts.
It was getting heavy, and it makes me realize like I'm thinking about it now because I walk in the world as a very like social conscious, heavy, blah 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 person, and I'm like, this can be heavy to people. Like some people can see that as being heavy. And I know why some people just like don't think about anything and zone out and watch TV or whatever, you know? Like I
Mm,
get it cuz it's like a mental break.
facts. Yeah, no, it is. Or it can be.
It can be. I'm not saying I don't think you should be walking around totally and like, you know, oblivious to everything. I'm just saying like I get the breaks in it now. Now that I'm on a like lighter side of TikTok, you know?
Mm-mm-mm.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
what was your
social media
other?
is wild. Like, and no one could have prepared us for this.
No, I don't think they.
No,
But there,
truly.
I mean, there's something positive about it.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna hold you. If it was not for social media, I would not be able to make artwork. And I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
just because my artwork, some of my artwork is about social media. So like, social media provides the material in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways. But it's also how I've been able to connect with the actors. It's how I'm able to
Facts.
promote things. It's how
True.
I've been able to connect with people for locations. It's how I've been able to like I would not have been able to make films or make really even the writing groups and stuff that I go to if it were not for somebody creating a social media outlet. Or I would have had to find another brick and mortar route to do it. Social
Yeah.
media has made that infinitely easier,
Facts. That's true.
you know.
That's relatable.
And so and that's I'm not gonna hold you like that's why I have such a complex relationship with it because it's like there's a direct benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And even networking things, it's very, you know, when I go to networking events or when I meet somebody new or whatever, the first thing they do is, what's your Instagram? Or
Facts.
what's your
Yeah.
this? And it's like, it's so easy to be like, well, all my work is here and they can just see it immediately and be like, oh, okay, well, I'll think about you for
Facts.
X, Y, like that. That's how stuff really happens. Like real
Hmm.
talk, real life. So it's not, uh, you know, I can't say that it hasn't been beneficial for me. It
True.
has,
True. True. True.
you know, and I
Yeah.
think
See,
it's
I
going to
don't use
continue to
social
be
media the
like,
same way, so that may be why I don't. I don't. I see it more like as a con because
yeah,
I don't use it for the same reason. I don't really need to use it for the same reason. So it's just for like my own personal, scrolling pleasures, I guess.
yeah.
And so, which
And
ends up being
I
more of a
hear that.
distraction
I
versus
hear
you're
that.
using it more in the world of like it can be work oriented.
Oh yeah, it's definitely but I didn't start using social media more seriously until about college, like a little bit into college. And it
Yeah, but
was
I think until college, it wasn't what it was now.
yeah, and that's true too, but I was using but when I started using it again in college, it was because I was sharing artwork or I was
Mm,
meeting people. And I came to it because before then I really wasn't on it like that. And I didn't even really have Instagram. Like so
facts, yeah.
way throwback. But then I started heavily using it because I was like, oh, this is how I can connect with people and get my work out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been I would say for me it's been more beneficial than not. Besides, I gotta check myself every once in a while to be like, okay, you're consuming too much. You
Facts, yeah, yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah. Which that threshold of too much, whoa, who
Yeah.
knew that threshold varied?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know, but we do have different perspectives on it. And I think if I wasn't doing something, which is, you know, artwork is entrepreneurial. If I wasn't doing something sort of entrepreneurial, I would have the same outlook, I think, as Caitlin. Like, I
Hmm.
wouldn't, it would just be scrollings, kind of looking at other people and other things. But I think when you take the reins of social media and say, hey, this is for me, or I'm using it for this direct purpose, like, okay, now it's got a purpose,
Yeah, that's true.
a
Yeah, I
positive
think if it has
purpose.
a purpose for you, then it's, if you're using it for said purpose. Now, is it easy to get distracted? Even if you have a purpose, absolutely. Is it easy to still have, the constant comparing or the constant,
Yeah.
I think, downfalls of social media? Sure. And to be fair, I think that's part of, and I don't want to, don't hate me
It's
for
like a
this. I think this.
trade-off.
I was gonna say. I think it's part of the inevitable of the nature of what it is.
Yeah.
If you see somebody doing something that you want to do and you want to be that, you're going to compare. So
Mhm.
that's like part of the, like you said, the trade off. Um,
Well, it's gotten bigger now. I mean, even
yeah,
from when I started posting 5, 6 years ago in college, or like 6 or 7 years ago in college, I wasn't. It was less comparison then
yeah, yeah,
because not every. major celeb was on there talking to you directly, or major,
Facts.
filmmaker or whatever was talking to you directly. It was like people were just still trying to get footing on it, and now people really are using it consistently as part of their marketing, schemes.
Facts. Yeah.
So it makes it feel like, oh, especially if you're like, you know, a new artist, it makes it feel like, wow, they've just stepped into this, or they've gotten something that I have not had access to, or whatever. And it
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel like you're not doing enough, when it's like, well, actually, you're probably going the legitimate route, number one. And you're probably also not saying that they're not legitimate, but like, that we don't see what the steps that they took for them to get there. Because there
Facts.
wasn't social media when a lot of them got there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I just, now I have to check myself a little bit more and just say, you know what? You're exactly where you need to be,
Facts.
period,
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, no, it's very hard. I think social media makes it difficult to find contentment in your own life because you're constantly just seeing somebody else's life. And it looks great, not saying that we know what they have gone through to have whatever they've had,
Yeah.
or maybe not have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the things that they've sacrificed to have those things. It just shows you the packaged end product. That's it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're comparing yourself to the end of their journey, not the entire journey, which can make you
It
want
skews
something.
your perspective.
Yeah, excuse your perspective and excuse the work that they had to put in and think you don't have to work, which
Yeah.
is the downfall of that, because it doesn't really give you the full picture. It gives you a part of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So, eh, social media is very, 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 very tricky.
Yeah, most
Very
definitely.
tricky. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, I have a question. So, obviously, this is very hypothetical because I don't know if this is going to happen. But say you have a child, right? And the kid's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, mom, I want social media. What age would you say your child can have social media?
Mm. I don't. I don't. I don't believe in sheltering children, because I think sheltering just creates other issues down the
Mm-hmm.
line.
Fair enough.
Um, so I say limited access at around 13, 14.
Okay.
And then obviously by the time they're 18, I can't tell them shit. So, you know, you I'm hoping that you have learned responsibility till the up to that point,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that you are handling the social media apps responsibly. But I don't believe in that whole restrict children. I think you give children limited access so that they learn
Mm-hmm.
and they process into things. I think totally restricting and just trying to like remove it will either push them further towards it, or if they when they do eventually get the opportunity to go into it, they don't have the tools and the experience to handle it properly.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, because social media is something you need to learn how to. At this point, is not leaving, so like you need to learn how to handle it properly.
Hmm.
That's what I think.
Okay, that's a valid point, actually. Yeah, that's a valid point. Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I think no social media anytime before, um, I think anytime before. So I agree with you because I don't want to say like no social media, because I think that's, if you are not providing it in some way or context,
Somebody else is,
somebody else is, and
and I'd
I feel like
rather it
as a
be
parent
me.
you would rather be the one providing it, right? So I think what I would do is wait for my kid to bring it up to me and be like, hey, I'm interested in this, and or like me talking to my kid, having open communication. And if they are just like seeing what they're into, what they're seeing at school, what they're learning at school, and then we can have the social media talk when they are ready, in an age appropriate way, right?
Mhm.
Because if I'm not providing it, like you said, if I am not providing it in some way or form, somebody else is, right?
Exactly.
But I think what you said was key, is teaching them how to manage it. if you're going to be on social media, that's fine, but you need to make sure that maybe your other responsibilities are taken care of. So maybe, you're clean your room, then you can have access to social media. And I will be monitoring your social media. Not even just me monitoring, we'll be monitoring what you're doing together. We can go through it together, because I think there is a such thing as maintaining a level of like privacy in a way, respecting said privacy. I don't want to be to the point where it's like invasive. I want it to be like an open dialogue type of situation. So, having, um, if it's not me, a person that they can confide in to talk to about what they are experiencing on social media. I think also too, they also need to be aware of predatory people in
Yeah.
general, and so that also comes into mind, because people are predatory people may be looking for people on Instagram. I don't know. I've never had an experience like that, but I can't imagine that Instagram has been skipped over by predators.
Yeah.
So, and, I can't see that.
They
So,
said Twitter, not Instagram.
yeah, exactly. So, and that's for any social media. I think TikTok would make me very hesitant as a whole, because TikTok is more it's more of the wild wild west.
Yeah.
You are
You know what TikTok? What I realized about TikTok is they sold it as this app for teenagers, but there's a lot of adults, a lot of
oh,
older adults. Actually,
that
I
use
see
it.
more older adults than I do
Yeah,
see young people,
yeah,
and the adults
same.
are I'm sorry, who unfortunately, in my opinion, f it up. I'm not gonna
I can
hold
see
you.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Because when I see
yeah,
little kids on there, they do their little makeup videos or maybe a little TikTok dance, and it's innocent, cute, fun. The adults is the ones on there in the comments making all kinds of
yeah.
wild
Weird
remarks,
comments.
saying all kinds
Yeah,
of crazy stuff. I'm like, it's the adults that effed up this app. The
I
kids were
can
just
see
having
that.
fun.
I
They
can
were on
see
the
that.
playground.
Yeah, but the thing is, the kids are learning from the adults, so it could be the kids too. So
I
I
mean,
don't
it
know.
could be. I'm not saying that the kids don't do certain things, but I feel like it's a lot. A a child usually, if they're acting a little bit out of their own. They're coming from a child's place, or at least an undeveloped place for the most part. Not
Yeah,
always.
I think it's a level more level of innocence typically, versus the adults. They are a little bit more, not even a little bit more. They are typically cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah, and there's a
So
lot of them are intentionally trolling and just saying all kinds of wild
yeah,
stuff.
facts. That's true. Yeah,
Because
no,
I'm
and
like,
that I'll never
you're
understand. Like, that is one
45.
thing I cannot get with. Why are you trolling on someone that you do not know? You have no stake in knowing on their stuff? Like, the only time I'll ever comment on a video if it's just like something that's very like, this hit very hard for me, and I'm like, but it's only in like positivity or in an education.
Yeah.
I can like count on my hands how many things I have commented on. Like, I'm telling you, it's a total of 5 over the years
Oh yeah,
that I've been
definitely.
using social media. Um,
I feel
and
gross
so
when I comment on things that aren't like saying like, oh, or I commented one time on somebody's like feminist video on uh TikTok, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to delete it, even though I said something like totally positive and uplifting. I
hmm
was like, I don't even like
facts. I
be
just
seen commenting. I don't
No,
even
for
like
real.
that.
Like I don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, for real.
Like I don't
It's
even.
so
Yeah.
controversial.
So if it, like I said, if it's nothing positive or like education based, like
Or
most of the time, if
hyping up
I'm
a friend.
commenting on something, it's like, or like a friend, somebody close that I know. I'll comment on Courtney stuff all the time. But like if it's like somebody I do not know, I'm only commenting. Like one time I commented on something, this person had just got a bunny, and they were like, "What do we do?" And I was like, "Just make sure you get him fixed, because he may cause issue." They had other animals in the house, and I was like, "It may cause issues or whatever." And I just kind of told them my experience. Okay, there's that. And then the other one, this lady, she was going back and forth with her, like her child's father or whatever, and so about custody, and I just kind of like hearted it, because I was just like, good for her for fighting for her child, and her child obviously will see social media someday, and was a boy, but her child will, know based off her social media that she really did try to fight for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um and so I just like hearted that, because that hit home for me. But it wasn't like, like, it wasn't nothing crazy. And anything else has been like a little heart, a little
Yeah.
emoji, and that's probably the best you're gonna get out of me. Like, I'm not about to
No,
be
for
on
real.
here reading you for feels. Like, I'm not that invested. Like,
Yeah, no, for
like, I'm just
real.
here to watch. Just
And
here
it's
to
like,
watch.
honestly, when you made that comment, you're sitting there like, how does someone leave a bad comment? Because you have so much time to sit there and really think about
Right?
what you're saying, why you're saying it, how to
Hmm.
say it, and you really just felt that moved
Facts.
to say
And
something
then it'll be
nasty. I don't
like if you
know.
have a differing opinion, you can just be respectfully disagree. Hey, I don't agree. Have you ever thought about this perspective? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Instead of like being demeaning to this person, like it's just like why there's something more wrong with you by spewing out this hate. Like, come on,
no, for
just
real.
move on with your life. Just move on. Like, if you don't
Yeah,
want to watch it, just scroll. Like, that's the beauty of TikTok. That's the beauty of Instagram. That's the beauty of Pinterest. That's the beauty of Facebook. Scroll.
I think
Just scroll.
actually you come into a good point here, which is the internet or social media, not just the internet. Social media has shown the really nasty parts of humanity,
Oh,
like
baby.
really
Yes.
disgusting, just vile human beings. Some people are vile, to tell you the truth, and I think we all before social media just assumed it was like the dark man in the alley.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's a lot of alleys. There's a lot of
No,
dark
yeah,
men. There's a
I do
lot of
agree with that. I
people.
think social media has exposed the dark
Yes.
side of the dark world of the earth or of America, for
Of
example.
people or people's
Yeah.
mentalities. People who like
Mhm.
ostensibly seem kind and like whatever.
Mhm.
Now it's like it's almost like you ever seen the Crucible where it's like they suspect their neighbors,
Mm-mm.
they suspect like or it's like who among us is this person that we don't know who really is harboring these problematic thoughts, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. Because and the thing is, like, they do that because they're able to hide under,
They hide behind
the
the
cloak
screen. Yeah.
of being anonymous. But
Yeah.
I think that yeah, that's traceable, baby. So you better be
Yeah.
careful. That's traceable.
Yeah, definitely. And it's allowed people, it's allowed people to stalk.
Yep.
It's allowed people access to others, glimpses of others' lives that they would not normally have access to. Um
Predatory things.
predatory.
I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
a
allowed.
huge thing with like people no longer posting their children on there for
Yeah, I heard
various
about that too.
predatory things, and it's like what TikTok?
Cuz like
Like
pictures of their
I just
kids end up
never
on the
thought to
dark
do
web and
that on
stuff.
there for TikTok. I mean, obviously I'm not predatory, but it's just like what? Like
Yeah.
that's wild.
It's like anything that can be used for good is also used
Oh yeah, for the bad.
for bad. And like
Mm-hmm.
I think the internet has exposed how bad bad can get, and it's like in our
Yeah.
faces very clearly
Facts.
now.
Yeah. The thing is, it's always been in our face. We just didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah,
So.
I think we had to like I mean, because back in the day, if you heard about something vile happening, it was on Dateline,
Mm,
and that was those are highly produced television shows, and they choose what they tell people, right?
mm-hmm.
Now the people are telling on themselves,
Yeah.
and we're realizing that it's not Dateline was just scratching the surface.
Yeah. Dateline was was light work.
Yeah,
Not
you
necessarily
know,
light work, but it was only showing a particular crowd.
yeah,
Now
that's
it's
what they
showing
wanted to show,
everybody.
what they felt was interesting enough, what they could afford to do, whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now we're seeing like so and so from the next town over is
Hmm.
doing some
We're
vile
seeing Uncle
stuff.
John.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the family members are being torn apart.
Hmm.
Like all sorts of things are happening, and it's because of the way we're able to connect now in a way that we hadn't before, and the culture
Hmm.
surrounding it. People feel like they can get on the internet and say whatever,
Yep.
which is like, who would have thought that the internet would have become that?
Seriously.
It's emboldened people in a very and sometimes a good way because we have good people speaking out, like the Cassie Diddy situation. But then we have the dark side of it,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, there's two sides of every story.
for sure.
So yeah, no, social media has been wild. Oh, I do want to before we wrap up is hit on the
Sure.
instrumental music. So what do you think has been the impact of instrumental music?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I think it allows my thoughts to come through, which might
Hmm.
just be a selfish thing, but like it provides a really nice, I hate to say it, kind of background track for like my when I need to just really create my own stuff or need to think about something
Hmm.
deeply and not be influenced by any other words or whatever. Instrumental is phenomenal for that.
Fair. Okay.
And I've
Yeah, I
said
would agree
before,
with that.
I can't even, as much as I love Sammy, I can't even listen to her because she's like really singing and it's like
Hmm.
lyrics. And I
Yeah.
just like can't do it. It's because I'm listening to you. I'm thinking about what you're saying, how you're saying it, and I'm thinking about the song, which is
Hmm.
great that people can interpret song that way. But it just distracts me. No, I'm
Facts. No, I
saying.
feel that. No, I agree. I think I would venture to say the same thing, but more of in the context of mine's probably even more selfish. It allows me
Yeah.
to just to think for myself. It allows me to almost like reason with myself. It allows me to promote thought, but in a way that is not pre almost subconsciously premeditated by what I'm listening to. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why I wouldn't say that like I listen to more music that's probably on the sadder side of things because I like that it's relaxing and calm and very emotion filled. But then you become that, right? Or you
Yeah.
can become that if you let it. And so I think it was important. Obviously, I was in the space to listen to that type of music, but getting out of the space of listening to that and listening to things that are probably a little bit more happier, a little bit more positive, um, which is why I specifically listen to um, I specifically listen to the Hermanoso Gutierrez brothers because their music is a lot more fun and like poppy, if you will, Latin based. It's not like your typical jazz. That's more like soothing, slow, almost closer to a sad blues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those that particular, this is just one group that listen to. There's a bunch of them, but it's more like upbeat, more like let's have fun, more motivating, more um it like makes you want to think, it makes you want to do stuff. So yeah, it's that has been a major change in my personal like mental health, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Making that conscious decision and also cutting out on social media. And what I'll do instead of listening or watching social media, I'll go listen to them on YouTube or whatever platform. Doesn't matter. And that has been extremely, extremely, extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. It like mellows out your spirit a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. While you also are able to like think for yourself. It's very I challenge everybody who listens to this episode to do this challenge. Do 30 days no social media, um, and listening to music with no lyrics. And you can do them at the same time, I guess. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But 30 days, do 30 days of that. And we want to know the difference that you feel.
It also gives the artists who do instrumental music a little more play
Yeah, that
because I
too.
feel like we like hyper fixate on artists who only sing or
Mm,
lyrics like
yeah, I can see that.
vocalists, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been preaching that song since high school, but I'm glad you're on the train now.
A little better late than never.
For sure. It's very. You just get to a point you're like, I can't do it anymore.
No, for real, yeah. Which like back in the day, like in I think it was I in college? I purposely stopped listening to rap.
Yeah.
Um, kind of for the same sentiment of just kind of like, you become what you listen to almost. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I made the conscious decision to stop listening to that, right?
Hmm.
And so same thing with music that has lyrics, and not all music. There's some people that I still listen to with like lyrics and things like that. Um, but typically it's a specific style. So like I listen to like a Cleo Soul, like a Fantasia, Anita Baker, things like
Oh
that.
yeah, I started
Um,
re-listening to Fantasia.
oh, great, amazing, love her.
Yeah.
But like things that are like that are or I listen to Jasmine Sullivan too. She's a good one.
Yeah.
More like uplifting things. Even if it's on the sadder end of things, the other music has kind of like as a playlist of the other music with Fantasia, for example, or Jasmine or whoever else. So it can keep you up. It can keep you up.
Yeah. Most
Versus listening
definitely.
to I really love this artist. His name's Teeks. He's a more sad artist,
Yeah.
and so he will have you in your feelings crying. Like seriously.
That's why I can't. I can't. I hate to say this. This is a bit flat. I can't do Billie Eilish. Can't do it.
Oh, I love Billy.
I'm
I
sorry. She's a little too
love
sad for me. I'm like, I'm
really I
already in
love
the dumps.
Billy.
I don't need to get further in the
I'm
dumps.
already in the dumps. No, I love Billy. Like I love that. Like because I'm not like don't be wrong. I think I am a very emotional person. I just don't like to show it. So those some of those songs help me like get there, which I know that's probably not good, but
Oh, music.
um,
I've like really discovered that music is really transformative in some ways. Like
oh yeah,
it really has the power to shift emotion.
mm-hmm.
And like I use music all the time when I'm making videos, right? Like I do it all the time. And so I know that, but then I like when I really listen to it myself, it's like I see that emotional shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's why that's exactly my point. Like there is a shift, whether you want to
Mhm.
acknowledge or not. And the reason I knew that there was a shift is me and Ricky were talking one day, and I was like, when you think of rap music, like what does that make you want to do? And she was
Mhm.
like, it just makes me want to like, I think she said dance. I was like, it just makes me want to like, um, I was like, it makes me think of like fighting or like something
Yeah.
violent. And I was like,
Yeah.
and when she was like, wow, that the impact of that. Then I'm like, I know, like that's not
For
good,
real.
you
No, it
know.
really will change you.
So,
Like
mm,
I was listening to the City Girls the other day, because I love me some
not
JT.
Carisha.
I love JT.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Anyways,
Courtney's a JT girly.
I'm a JT fan. I don't care.
I like JT. JT's cool.
I love JT. But yeah,
Who
I
would
was
have
listening
gone?
to the other
JT.
day.
I can see Carisha because Carisha is a little bit more like she tries to be classy, right? JT's not even that.
But JT,
JT
I
is
feel
not
like, yeah,
JT.
I have another theory on that. I think JT is classy.
No, I think she is. I'm just saying JT's JT. Like you get what you get. Like
Oh yeah,
if she wants to be
definitely.
ratchet,
She's
she's gonna be
authentic.
ratchet.
I love it because she's authentic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And she's authentic Miami. And that's what the girls are down there. So hey, what can I say?
That's what the girls are down there.
They are. Well,
Girl, gonna get the girls ready to tussle.
hey, I'm all about it. Now, would JT and I probably be BFF? Probably not.
I can see it honestly.
But
JT
we'll
seems like a
see.
nerd, to be honest.
That's why, and she's also like slightly alternative as well. So I'm like, I feel
Yeah,
like JT and I would like, we probably would get along in ways that people don't expect.
I can see it. I could honestly see it.
Like for real.
If I had to choose a celebrity that I think you really would do well with, it probably would be like a JT.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, is she gonna test your patience? Yeah.
Oh yeah, she definitely probably will. I mean, cause she gives me. I still like the nightlife scene thing, and I'd be like, girl, go ahead,
I
cause
don't even think so. I think
I'm about to
she's
go to
like
sleep.
she just looks like you know how like because and I think this is the sad part about it is we put JT in a box because of the way she looks and appears and where she's from. But I
Yeah.
really think she's a homebody. I think she's a homebody. I think she would rather probably be home, not do all that night stuff. Like now, Carisha, I think she's staying in the street. But JT, I feel like JT's like if it's not from me making money, she's probably at home watching a movie. Honestly.
Really?
I think I actually
Oh.
watched her interview and she was like, I like to stay home more than I like to go out. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. I really could.
Hmm. I need to
She's
watch her
just too
JT
she's
interview.
just too to herself. Like I don't see her
Yeah, you know
being
what? Maybe that's why I like JT. I vibe with people who are like really to themselves and do not
hmm
cause issues.
yeah, well, unless you cause an issue with her.
And she calls it, yeah, no, I
She
mean,
will
she
finish
definitely, she
it.
seemed like she'll get you together if she has to, but she's not, it's not because JT started it.
Typically, yeah,
That's
probably
what I
not.
would feel like from
Yeah.
her.
I can see that. She's like a finisher. Yeah.
Yeah. And she seems also like she's not the type to be like, to have any sort of prejudice and stuff. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean she's very open, as long as you don't do nothing crazy.
Exactly. So, anyways, what was I saying about JT? Oh, I was listening to the City Girls. When I
Mm.
listen to them, it does make me feel. I'm like, I just feel like a bad bee. Like I can take on the world. Like, come at me. You know,
Courtney doesn't need that, honestly.
I'm gonna like
Our
do
girl
not
doesn't
play
need
with
that.
me. I'm
Huh.
gonna,
Beat you up. Got it.
yeah. So hey, that hypes you up.
Huh.
But then
Interesting.
I listened to My Funny Valentine by Carmen McRae, which she's a jazz singer from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I'm in my car about to cry.
See?
I don't have a funny Valentine and I don't want one. But I'm over here like about to really cry because of the way she emotes
No, for
in the
real.
song. I was
Yeah, no,
like,
agreed. You should not listen to Teeks. Teeks is really good at that too. Like I
what
think Billy is
emoting
pretty
me
good
out.
at that. Like she has that voice that's like it's like it can be so
It's
soft that it's
soft, sad
sad.
girl.
It's like soft sad. Like yeah.
That's why I can't
And
listen to
she
it all the
can
time.
but she also can be a little bit more edgy too. There's some other songs that are really really good of hers, but like Future, I really like that song. My Future.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't doubt anybody's talent. Just because I'm commenting on whether I listen to them or not doesn't mean I
Yeah, so
doubt
you
their
just don't want to be
talent.
depressed.
I'm just saying I can't like I think sometimes you're doing it well, really well, and
Mm.
it gets to me, and I'm just not in that
You're
space.
doing too well,
You're
basically.
doing
You're
it
doing
too
so good.
well, okay?
Yeah. You're doing so good. I feel that. Sometimes I can't even listen to Anita Baker. Like, and that my favorite
Yeah.
song is by her is I Apologize or Apologize. Great song, right? But I'll be, hard, fast on I'm not apologizing on what I don't even have to have a problem. I'm not apologizing. And listen to that. I'll apologize. Like
I didn't need to.
I know for real. Like, I'm so sorry, boo. Maybe talking to the wall, but
Real.
I apologize. So yeah, I do think being mindful of what you're listening to, because it can become something bigger than what you
You
think.
like imbibe it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think about whenever I like listen to like grown and sexy music, like Luther Vandross.
Not
Which
the
I listen
grown
to
and
all the time.
sexy.
Okay, I love it. The grown and sexy music.
Who
Okay.
even uses that verbiage
The
anymore?
slow jams. Okay. I do.
Who
It's
uses
the
this
grown and
verbiage?
sexy music. Because, on the radio stations at night, they'd be like, this is WKNOZ
For grown and sexy.
101.6 for the grown and sexy.
That's funny.
You know
That's
what
a
I'm talking.
throwback, because I don't even think
The
they do that
quiet
anymore.
storm. The
I don't think
quiet
they do that
storm.
anymore. Do they do that still?
I don't know.
I'm like, what?
But it's like the grown and sexy quiet storm slow jams. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about, because
Anyways.
my mom used to have that rolling.
Yeah, for real. So whenever I listen to that, it does. I'm like, I start to feel like an auntie. I'm like, I feel like I have, I've got like a solid 401k. I'm on my third glass of like Cabernet or Pinot Noir or something.
Something
And
fancy.
I just told my nieces and nephews to sit down, or they're not getting a Christmas present.
Not to sit down.
I just feel, I'm like, this just makes me, I just feel middle-aged, okay?
No, for real.
And I feel like I'm like together. I've learned a couple things, okay? I've experienced some things.
Right, I got years on my belt. Yes.
Exactly. I'm in a good place,
That's wild.
Yeah, so that music too. It's like whatever the vibes are is like I'm imbibing it,
No, for real. It becomes me. So be mindful of the music,
Yeah.
Seriously.
Plays a
You
part.
will become it, or you can. You can become it. Anyway, guys, we do advise you to do like a 30-day challenge where you're doing no social media and listening to maybe music that has no lyrics or minimal lyrics, and see the impact that it has on even you. So we want to know your experience. If you do decide to do it, share those in the comments, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.